comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright.
Hello, Fortitude audience. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Heather Kittleson, and I am your host. And I am with two studs today, man. Just pure studs.
Oh, my gosh.
My husband, of course, Amos, who is our co-host. Hi, Amos.
Hi.
Hi. And Jon Setzer, Mr. Jon Setzer, is in the studio today. Hi, Jon.
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
We are so good. We just had 30 minutes or so to catch up, and man, we got a lot going on.
It's like there's never enough time.
Ever.
For us to catch up and hear faith stories and all that God is doing.
He's just rocking our worlds right now.
I know he's such a good God. And he's so creative in how he does stuff.
Oh, man, when God put you in our lives, I was just like, what is it about this guy, man? He is lit up in the most profound, beautiful ways. Like you just have an energy about you, and everybody will say that. So thank you for just showing up all the time. Like every time I see you, you just, the smile on your face, the twinkle in your eyes, all of it. It's great.
Well, thank you. I know before we first met, there were so many people around the community like, you do know Heather and Amos Kittleson, right? I'm like, no, I don't know Heather. Like, have you been living under a rock?
That's
and I'm like,
great.
Who is saying
Who
this?
is this?
Who is saying
Yeah.
this?
Like everybody. I mean, because I thought I knew a lot of people, and then I met Heather, and I realized that I don't know a lot of people.
No, not compared to her.
And like all of my friends and just people that I know in ministry and, business friends and that kind of stuff are like, you need to meet Heather. You need to connect with her.
And when we did, man, we sat down downtown Sioux Falls and had such a great conversation. And it's neat how when the Holy Spirit connects on such a beautiful divine level,
Yes.
the conversation just was flowing for a couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
And
I know I lost track of time. I'm like, how long?
Wait a minute.
We've been like 2-3 hours.
I think we were both late for our next meetings.
You guys are both extremely positive people, optimistic, off the charts, right? And we talk about this, how optimistic people are drawn to optimistic people, and you just feed off each other. So then you guys get like uber optimistic.
Well, it's like we see each other.
Well,
like
you guys are off the charts.
almost like
optimistic.
spontaneous combustion. Like
Yes.
or a bomb or
That's what
something.
it feels like.
Something goes off.
Crazy ideas start flowing. And then me, kind of the integrator, I'm like, that sounds great. I think it's harder than you think, though.
Yeah,
you know?
he usually will pop my bubble really fast, but in a beautiful way. It's good
always
stuff.
tell you the truth.
But we do need integrators
We do.
in life. So.
Yeah.
Which let's go there for a second, because Miss Leslie, your beautiful bride, she is a practical one. She's also full of life, but she is very practical and probably grounds you often.
Right. Well, so Leslie is my oldest daughter, Marcy.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
Marcy is, I call her the smoke show. That is my baby. That's my girl.
The smoke show.
Literally, like, from the very first time I seen Marcy, like, I told my friend, I was like, if she'll act right, I will marry her. And he's like, dude, you are so conceited. She's never going to give you any chance. And when I seen her, I was like, I would marry you. I just looked at her, and I just knew from that moment.
Yeah.
I was like,
it's
I'm
us,
going to
baby.
marry her one day.
Smoke show.
That's cool.
And so, of course, she broke my heart, and she wasn't a fan of me having 2 girlfriends at the time.
John.
Oh, she wasn't?
I was horrible.
Strange.
I was terrible at 14. And she's like, when you get yourself figured out, give me a call and we can go from there. And she was just so much more mature than me.
Okay, so go. I want to 14.
14.
You meet Marcy.
Yes.
And I just tell us who you are now, and then I want to go back to that piece, because that's a really cool story what she did.
I think who I am now is, I'm a man in progress. I'm on a journey.
You're in good company, man.
I'm figuring, Amos,
Join the club.
I'm figuring things out, and really, I think I'm just learning to be think I'm finally learning to authentically be Jon Setzer.
Yes.
And for a long time, that was really hard to do because I always felt like you got to dress it up. You got to present yourself this way. You got to be here. And coming out of a background of athletics, I played professional football. I'm actually ended up coming to Sioux Falls to play for the Sioux Falls Storm. And that world is a world of performance. And so felt like I was always performing.
Sioux Falls Storm is, for our international listeners, Sioux Falls Storm is...
Oh, yeah. So the Sioux Falls Storm professional indoor football. Actually, I was in Canada with Montreal in the CFL and ended up getting cut from there. And then after that, I had an opportunity to come to the frozen tundra.
Yeah, because you're from the South.
Yes, I am from North Carolina.
Right.
So every now and then you'll hear the
Southern
the Southern twang come out a little bit, and but I'm just trying to authentically be me, and it has been a journey. It's been a process, and Heather, I thank you so much because you have been one of those voices that is in my inner circle that is going, Jon, like, you can do this. Like, you can step out and fully embrace who God is calling you to be. And for a long time, I didn't think that it was possible for me to do that.
The day that we had a coffee, fast forward a year or so, remember I walked in and I said, I was just sitting in my vehicle and God wanted me to read this devotion to you.
Oh my goodness.
Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
And I was like, it wasn't for you. I just didn't know. He said, bring the devotional with you. And I happened to have it in the car with me and I brought it in and you started talking to me and I said, Jon, I think I have something for you. And I remember I opened it up to the day, the devotion was the day your dad died.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. It was the coolest thing. And it was like your dad spoke through that devotion to you that day. It was so beautiful. We both were crying. It was so cool.
Yeah. And just for all of you listeners around the world, I'm a manly man and I don't cry. No, I'm joking. I cry.
Yes, sorry. I just blew your cover on that one. My kids, I feel like that my kids really needed me to, well, my wife, number one, but then my kids really needed to see me be authentically Jon Setzer. And, for some of you guys that don't know, like, me and my wife, Marcy, we have 5 kids. I enjoy spending time with my wife. Yes, you do. In
many ways. That's why we have 5 kids. So for the younger listeners, just edit that part out.
No, we talk about sex on here. We do. It's all good.
But yeah, and so, but they needed that from me because I started to see things in my own kids to where it's like, like my oldest daughter, Leslie, I'm like embrace your natural hair.
Yes. Yeah.
But I wasn't embracing my natural charisma and my natural energy. And I had this lady that came up to me at my church. I call her Mama Kit. And she said, the Lord's telling me to tell you, stop apologizing for your enthusiasm. As long as JC is bigger than JS, you'll accomplish things that you never dreamed of.
Yeah.
And it was in that moment. And of course, I walked away immediately and started crying because she just spoke directly to me and she saw me in that moment.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to be able to see other people.
Why were you apologizing for your enthusiasm?
Amos, I think that's a great question, man. I think you come out of coming out of the South, which, where I grew up was heavily racially charged. And so you didn't want to be the too loud, ghetto, angry black guy, if that's a thing.
Yeah.
And so you always live this life to where you're walking on eggshells and you're not sure if people can handle who you are. Huh. And so with some people, you dial it down a little bit. For others, you turn it up a little bit. Yeah. And what I found myself doing was I just turned into a chameleon.
Sure.
With you know, like, yeah, I'm a black guy that snowboards. So like, you know, with my country club friends, I could go and play golf and we're on the country club and we could do that. And then we could go on snowboarding trips. And then I could be in the hood and I could be on the block hanging out with my cousins and friends over here. And, you know, I knew how to speak the lingo.
You adjusted to the environment.
I could change up and I could dress this way. I could go 3-piece suit this way. I could, you know, whatever you wanted to do. And it just became exhausting because multiple personalities.
Yeah. And this came from a home environment or your neighborhood, just the state where you grew up, North Carolina?
Yeah, I think, okay, so where I grew up in Lenoir, you know, very country, you know, racially charged in some ways, but I did have really good friends. So it was like pockets of different thoughts. You know, my dad was very conservative. You know, so I grew up in a very conservative home. You know, but that wasn't always the story at my house.
Yeah.
So we presented well, and we were this, you know, black family that kind of had this type of a standard. But what people didn't know was, you know, at home, I used to watch my dad put guns in my mom's face, fight like cats and dogs. Like it was bad. And, you know, and I remember my parents had a really, really bad blow up argument, fight, whatever. And I knew at that moment that would be probably the last one. And so I prayed, like, God, make my parents love each other again. Make them love each other again. And shortly after that, they got a divorce and they separated. And so we're splitting time. You know, I'm at my dad's house. And my dad, he was an amazing father, but just at that time, not a great husband. I don't know if you can be that, but that's what it seemed like. And so, I mean, my dad always at all of my events. I mean, just he wanted me and my brother to have the best of everything in life, even to the point that, you know, he named us Nicholas and Jonathan Setzer so that our names didn't translate as a skin color on paper. And he told me that.
Yeah.
And so I just knew that maybe there was some deep-rooted fear of like him always wanting us to present ourselves in a certain way. And, you know, and my dad would always tell me, he's like, you're going to be a CEO. Like, that's what you're going to do. You're going to be a major CEO. You're going to be a business guy. Like, so you need to dress this way. You need to act this way. You need to talk this way. You need to read these books. I mean, you know, my dad, he would pay me to read books. And he'd give me $20 a book.
Wow. We got to up our rates for our kids, honey.
We do. We do.
And so I'm reading all these books. And of course, in the 7th and 8th grade, you don't have a clue what you're reading. Yeah. And so John Maxwell is my uncle. I love John Maxwell. But it was in that moment of splitting time that we ended up having to get a babysitter. Babysitter was lady from the community, and my brother and I ended up being sexually abused over the course of about 6 months. And so I think some of that even kind of started to get weaved into the authenticity of like, you know, when can I be me? Or like, who is this person? Or like, you're dirty now, you're damaged goods, if that's, you know, and then the devil starts speaking all this condemnation. And so it was during all that time, which was like the worst time of my life, it felt like. I was probably about, maybe at that time, I was probably like, when that happened, probably about 7.
So you were little.
Maybe.
7 years old.
Yeah, somewhere in there. And I just remember coming in and I would see my dad reading this thick black book. And I'm like, dude, you are never going to finish reading that book. Like, what the heck are you reading? And he's like, come here. And he'd always have a cup of black coffee like I have right now. And he's like, come here, sit on my lap. And I would sit on his lap. And he was reading the Bible.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to tell you about it. And I watched my dad transform from this perfectionist, like make the play, make the shot, make the block, make the tackle. You did or you didn't. There is no in between. There's no gray area. You made the play or you didn't. You need to do it this way. This is the way you do it. This is the way you do it right. This is the way you wash your car. This is the way you do this. This way. I mean, in everything, there was a methodology and a right and a wrong way to do it. And I watched him transform from that into the sweetest guy that you would ever meet. And I would even have like friends that would meet my dad and go, there's no way that's your dad's story. And I'm like, if Jesus could change him, he can change anybody. And that's when I really got on fire for the gospel and became, just even deeper rooted in my faith, is because I seen what happened with my dad. And so my dad went on to get remarried, and he was married to my stepmom Tammy for 18 years. And he actually passed away about 3 years ago. And that was really tough.
Was it natural causes, or was?
Well, it was. Well, actually, it was during COVID. The Lord put on our heart to move from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, back to the East Coast. And so we're like, God, you're doing that thing again. Just let us stay here. I don't want to go. We're comfortable here. We love Sioux Falls. We love South Dakota. And the Lord just really put it on our heart to go. The day that we got there.
You and your 5 kids.
Me and my 5 kids, and Marcy, of course. Yeah. And we and COVID literally shut down the world.
Right when you got there?
The day that we got there. Oh. Like, we were unloading and watching the news, and they're like, hiring freezes, everything is shut down. Like, what's this COVID-19 thing?
Praise Jesus, you got there.
Yeah. And so, we ended up getting there, and it's just a crazy testimony of God's goodness, even how he provided during that time. Like, because I got there, like, our reserves are quickly
depleting,
because I worked in ministry, so I wasn't making that kind of money.
Yeah.
And I just remember the checks started coming. People would call and say, hey, I don't know what it is. The Lord's putting you on my heart. What is your address? I'm like, that's weird. I mean, I give them my address, and I wasn't telling them, oh, I can't find a job because of COVID. I wasn't telling them any of that. And then 5,000 and 8,000 and 2,000 and 3,000 and 2,500.
That's what God does, man. It's so powerful.
It's amazing.
And these checks just started coming in the mail, and God's like, I'm your source.
Yeah. So when you're down there, you're getting quality time with your dad too,
yes.
right? So how much time did you get with him?
It was about 1.5 years.
Okay. So they got you, grandpa, and
yes.
I mean,
oh my goodness,
how great for your kids.
And my girls, I mean, they just love rubbing my dad's bald head. Hopefully, Lord, you won't let me go there too soon. But, and just seeing like my kids interact with my dad. And it's like every picture that you see, he's holding one of the girls.
Yeah.
What
a blessing.
And then my little sister Faith, when he passed away, she was 15.
Okay.
But just us being able to be there, like, that was the greatest gift.
Right.
The greatest gift that one of the greatest gifts that God could ever give me was giving me an opportunity to be there. So in the meantime, not being able to get a job, I'm like, maybe I'll do some insurance or something. So I got all my insurance license, and opened a State Farm agency during COVID. And it was great. Like, our numbers were pretty good. And I was one of the only people that didn't close my office, because I'm like, I can't close it.
I got a family to take care of.
I got to make money.
Yeah.
And then it was like, after all of my dad's stuff was finished and we were able to take care of all of his affairs, the Lord's like, okay.
Time to go back.
You're done. Go back.
Yeah. And so how many years have you been here now?
So we've been back a little over 3 years.
That's right. It has been about 3. And we met right when you moved back. That's what I remembered.
It's crazy.
And so currently, I mean, you've had a few other careers here, and you've stepped in. You've really felt called to a couple different things. Yeah. And it's been so fun to watch.
Scary though.
It's the most frightening thing ever
man.
to leave a paid position, something you actually love, something you enjoy doing. But when God says, I mean, he's sending you checks for goodness sakes in a time of need, you're like, okay, you are real. I want to listen. And he says, I want you to take a step out. And you're like, I got to take care of a family. What do you mean? So you recently have taken a big step. So I want to go to that, but then I want to still go back to earlier in your life too.
Okay. Yeah. So, I feel like just like with the children of Israel, when they were coming out of Egypt and they're in the wilderness, God will take you through a period of time to where he provides the provision for everything. Like he provides everything. He's nursing you along and he's growing you in your faith. And then, he gets you to a place where, I mean, literally, he goes, okay, that season is done. Now I'm going to teach you how to self-feed. Now I'm going to teach you how to, to go out and to get it by faith and to trust and to rely on me. And that's kind of what this new season is for me. I spent the last 3 years with an amazing organization called Lifelight. I was a COO there. And, we did big Christian festivals, all over, going and speaking in different countries because I have the heart of an evangelist. I love telling people about Jesus.
Yes.
And I just really started feeling like that the Lord had more for me. I felt like that there was a greater utilization of my gifts and talents and my calling. Mm-hmm. And with my athletics background, with my heart for kids, I absolutely love kids. I love kids. Did I say I love kids?
You are so good with kids. That's why you have your own tribe.
Yeah, we got a basketball team. That's what some of my buddies say. But when I started, this idea of launching my own company that could really focus on athletic training, but also spiritual training and development. And so came up with this idea of Setzer Elite, as you can kind of see on my shirt there. And my buddy Chad helped me out with this cool logo, Chad. Mm-hmm. And so big shout out to Chad. And it was like, okay, now I got to give birth to this freaking thing.
Yeah.
And that was the scariest thing ever. And and Amos, I know, you have your own business and, and now you guys got a huge baby that you're birthing right now with, some of the new things with Fortitude, which I'm so excited. And I would like to hear you talk a little more about it. But now you got to birth this thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now I got to do something with it. Yeah. But that it was your idea. It was a seed that God planted. Mm-hmm. So you're like, if I give it all, then he's going to grow it. We're going to grow it together. So that's the piece I loved that you shared was in the uncertainty and in the anxiety that comes behind stepping out in faith. Mm-hmm. You knew in your heart, God was still working on some things with you timing wise. Remember you were saying
yes.
I had some molding that had to happen for John, for me, before I was able to fully step into who God created me to be. And you did that work. Mm-hmm. You did the work. And then that's when everything it just took off.
I'm telling you, it was, I would highly encourage anybody, when you say yes to God, not a strings attached yes, not a well maybe, mm-hmm. not that, when you truly say yes to God, he starts to do things that your mind just can't comprehend. Mm-hmm. Literally, I was meeting with my buddy Jeremy Brown, and Jeremy always tells me, he's like, you have to understand and know how the market sees you. You might think the market sees you one way, but the market sees you how they see you. And what they see you, and in the way that they see you is where value is. That's where value can be harnessed, right? And I'm like, but I don't really know how the market sees me. He's like, John, I'm going to tell you how the market sees you. They see you as you're an encourager. You carry such an influence and such a charisma and this personality that just makes people want to be around you, and you get people excited and you make people want to run through a wall to accomplish their goals. And I'm like, Jeremy, that is exactly what I'm doing. And then you start meeting with people like this lady right here. And she's like, John, you either need to piss or get off the pot. Like if God is telling you to do something.
You're referring to Heather.
Yes.
encouraging the encourager.
Yes.
To take a leap of faith.
Because we can see it. We can see it in each other.
I get what you're going through, because we watched you go through this, and we had a celebration, the 6 of us, with Jeremy Brown and his wife and your wife. When you finally kind of made this decision, like I think what had it happened at that point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you've got 5 kids, and it is a scary thing. So to your credit, you weren't just being willy-nilly. Like, you were talking to God about this. God, I'm scared about this. You know? Right. I mean, you have the burden of provision put upon you, and you want to honor that. And you didn't want to just jump right into that. So can you talk us through what that was like?
Yeah. I mean, and as a father and a provider, like we're here right now.
You guys see each other.
And like when you feel like it's all on you, if I don't make money, my family doesn't eat. And that's not an option. If this doesn't work, my family doesn't eat. And that's not an option.
And your wife, I remember your wife was very encouraging. She was on your inside, very supportive. Yes. Yet you still had that, I'm going to call it a healthy fear.
Yes.
Just a healthy sense of responsibility.
I would totally agree.
Yeah.
And I do think that it's important for us to have that as well, because when we don't have that healthy fear of, what could be or what couldn't be, or, and we're not really looking at the obstacles that could potentially be there, it can almost become negligence, and so Marcy, she was so supportive in the process, and she's just like, so what's the date?
Yeah.
I'm like, will you stop talking to Heather?
I was just going to say, Marcy and I had a great conversation that day.
And she's like, okay, so what's the date? Because if you don't set a date, it's not going to happen. And to be honest, I drug my feet for maybe like 2 or 3 months. Because I'm just like, well, I'm just waiting on this to be set up in the right way. And, and then, the team at Lifelight, they were good to me.
They were so good to you.
They were really good to me. Like, Josh Brewer and Rochelle and, Alan Green, Miss Vicky Green, like they were really, really good to me.
Even in the transition, like they were so encouraging for you. Yeah.
And you were, in a way, you were doing your thing at Lifelight, weren't you? Because you would get on stage. So for our national listeners, Lifelight is a Christian concert event and held annually. Tickets are free. It's usually held in the cornfield, and people show up, and you get some really big name Christian artists that come to South Dakota, rural South Dakota. And what was an average attendance size for Lifelight?
Well, so before COVID, I mean, an average attendance size, I mean, you're looking at anywhere from 280 to 300,000 people.
Yeah, it's a huge event.
Yeah. And, and then after COVID, things kind of changed gears a little bit, and the focus of the impact of the ministry really shifted to more of like being in the heart of downtown. So being in different cities,
a little more constrained
around the world. And, because like downtown, like that is where
the heartbeat,
that's where it's happening. That's where the bedrock of the city is. Kind of like Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
And you would get an opportunity to be on stage. It wasn't just artists. In between artists setting up and tearing down, there would be messages, and you would get a
Yeah.
chance to say a message, right?
Yeah. And so, you know, and for our audience, you know, I am, you know, I'm a speaker. I feel like I light up whenever I get an opportunity to be on stage and to share my heart with people. Stage fright has never been an issue for me.
I'm jealous.
Hand you a mic and put you on stage, and it is incredible to see how God uses your mouthpiece. It's like you sit in the audience, and I don't think I blink. I just sit there like a deer.
It's a gifting.
It's such a gift,
proper
that you have.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate it. And, you know, and it was kind of, you know, it was one of those things like where I was really feeling this transition and this shift. But the devil was saying, but you're going to walk away from this stage. You're going to walk away from this big platform.
Yeah, you're hanging out with some of the greatest Christian artists in
Right.
the world. Like, people want this, Jon.
Right.
Why would you leave it?
And for me, like, I like the artists, you know, but I just wasn't really in like the fanboy mode.
Yeah.
With the artists, it was more of like, hey, how are you? Like, how's your family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really care
I get
about
that. I don't get very
Yeah.
starstruck either. It's just like they're
You
people
know?
too, right?
But this is why
Right.
other people didn't understand. Like, for people who would come around you and say, are you kidding me? You're like in the best. This is amazing what you have. So you have this polar, like the
Right.
repelling. And the reason the uneasiness gets in there is because you're not in flow with Christ. Because you're not following.
Mhm.
He's like, just come with me, Jon. Just come with me. I know you're great. I know things are great, but it's going to be greater because you're going to step into who I've created you to fully be. And then you're going to get to see what really happens and what I'm capable of doing through you.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that, you know, the charisma and the, you know, like my personality, you know, I think what really brought me back to the true, authentic Jon Setzer was when I really started to think about how I was a suicidal kid.
Mm-hmm.
And some people don't know this about my story, but I was a star athlete in my hometown, you know, dang near straight A student. You know, when I walked into the party, I mean, they're throwing beers across the room, you know, as the life of the
Yeah.
party. And, you know, because, I was underage drinking at,
Yeah.
16, 15.
Country
It was-
in the East is different.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, because our lives, it felt like our childhood was a party. It was
Yeah.
a movie, and you're watching it happen. And I just remember like going back to thinking about I would be in a room full of people. Everybody's waiting on me to perform, tell a joke, get us excited, do something crazy, do a flip, do something. And I realized that I was in a circus.
Yeah.
And I was the clown
Yes.
in the middle. And I was trying to entertain and perform all these people that really didn't matter. And, you know, and I started to think about, well, if I'm feeling this, how many other kids are feeling this?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're talking about well-dressed, good grades. I mean, my wife says I'm handsome, you know. You have all these things that in so many other people's eyes are going for you.
Yeah.
But they didn't realize that most nights when I went home, I thought about ways to kill myself. And really, you know, I remember the straw that broke the camel's back, the metaphorical camel's back, was I remember having my best football game in high school. I had like 3 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries. It was like 380 some yards, all purpose. Didn't play offense that game because me and my coach couldn't connect eye to eye. Well, I couldn't shut up. And he's like, well, you're not going to play offense. Okay, well, I'll just play defense. And set state records and everything. And then I remember after the interviews on the field, the newspapers there, like WBTV, like all this. And I remember leaving the field and thinking about every way that I could kill myself.
Where do you think that stemmed from? Just because you just weren't aligned in who you were?
Yeah. I mean, because when you're not truly living as your authentic self, it's exhausting because you're just performing. I mean, imagine like you being on stage 24/7. You can never go backstage and take a breather. You can never go backstage and get a glass of water. You can never go home. You're constantly performing.
Can we unpack that a little bit? I think that's really key. Because were you an optimistic young man? I mean, you're an optimistic now. That's how I see you today. Were you that optimistic as a kid?
No.
Okay.
You know, my grandmother would always look at me and say, "There's something special about you," but she would never tell me. She's like, God's got something for you. There's something special about you. So it made me feel even worse because I'm like, well, what is this special thing? Like, what is it that you're seeing that I can't grab a hold of?
So you've got your grandma speaking into your life. You've got your dad speaking into your life. And they both had the best of intentions. We know it sounds like their heart was in the right place. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Then you fast forward. So there was issues back then. And just fast forward a little bit. And this lady at church tells you to basically don't worry about how you feel. Don't worry about your enthusiasm.
Right.
So you're enthusiastic. You're holding your enthusiasm back. And you've got do you have true friends back in high school?
At that point, that's a good question. I think I had a lot of associates.
Okay.
But I didn't have very many like true friends that I could say, hey, this pornography addiction, I'm struggling with this. You know, that's a part of my story that I'm very open with. Like, you know, the pornography addiction it started when I was in the 4th grade.
Which, if you go back to the sexual abuse.
Yeah. How, if you could put a number on it, a percentage, I know this is a percentage thing. If you could put a number on it though, how much of that do you think contributed to this self-harm mentality, the thoughts you were having?
I would say it definitely was a piece of the puzzle for sure.
Okay. Sounds like a small piece then.
I mean, when you really start to think about like the self-worth, the self-image, identity.
Yeah. The shame that you felt from
guilt. Yeah. I mean, because your self-worth, you know, when you're sexually abused, your self-worth goes from here, I'm a child of God, to here, I'm damaged goods. And that's, you know, kind of how.
And you hadn't talked to anyone about that? Was this a secret that you were keeping?
No, people, like, nobody really knew about my pornography addiction until I was broken free from it.
Okay.
Freshman in college, prayed about it. I'm like, God, like, I want to be done with this. You know, because, like, you know, being sexually abused, the pornography ended up to me losing my virginity in the 6th grade. So then now your eyes are opening to something that's beautiful, like sex, but your eyes are opened to the perversion of something so beautiful that God created.
Sure. Did you had lots of people, he had people in your life encouraging you. Did you have anyone giving you hard truths? Was anyone telling you, Jon, you're great, I see something, I want you to pay attention to this? Some of that the harder things to hear.
Yeah, I think my dad and my mom both did that. You know, my mom, she was a mom, so moms, they coddle you a little bit more.
No.
You know, they
Amos and I, this is their
you know, but my dad was it was black and white. It was hey, if you aren't tithing, then you're being disobedient. You know, so there was kind of, you know, my dad, there was kind of some legalism sprinkled in there, you know, but I do feel like that, you know, he was one of those voices that was really speaking, you know, truth to me. And then my granddad, like my mom's dad, he ended up actually, I remember when he passed away, like I held his hand the whole way as he was taking his last breath. It was one of the most beautiful things, Really, my girlfriend at the time took care of him the whole entire way.
Wow.
And she's my wife today.
I was just going to say, wait.
Oh, there you go. That's way to tie it together.
But I knew my granddad, he's like, you better marry her.
Yeah.
That's
you
great.
better marry her.
Great.
But he would always, have those hard truths. The thing that my granddad taught me, was things like hard work. One day, like I used to be kind of ashamed of my granddad, and maybe this is too much information, I don't know, but we're getting kind of deep now. But I used to be ashamed of him because he was a janitor at my school. And, he drove the school bus for all of his grandkids, which was the most beautiful thing. I never even, but I would see, a kid come down, they would just take a carton of milk, just throw it on the floor. And he would go and he would pick it up, throw it in the trash. And one of the things that changed my life, because I would go and work with my granddad sometimes at the school, like, trash and that kind of stuff, because we'd go cut grass together. So I was with my granddad a lot. He taught me hard work. But I remember watching him mop a floor. And the passion and the pride that he took in mopping this floor. I don't know what it was. I think it was something to where God's like, come here, son. Take these blinders off and look at this. Behold this.
Yeah. One of the reasons why I'm just dialing in on this is because I think the majority of families that go through someone who's committed suicide are really caught off guard. Rarely is it I saw that coming.
Oh, my family would have been totally caught off guard. And nobody knew.
And that's where I think it's important to get to the root. Like, what was the thing that someone could have seen and said something, could have asked, so that our listeners can,
that's a good question,
be educated and just really try to cut this off, because it could be the same thing with our kids, honey.
I know.
Yeah. And we look at them and go, they're great. I guess it comes down to, if you don't ask the question,
right?
If you don't ask the questions, how do you really know? You want to assume the best.
Yeah, and I think one of those things too, man, is like sometimes as parents we don't ask the question because we don't want to see a negative reflection on our parenting. We don't want to go, well, what did I mess up here? What did I not feed you enough? Did I not read you enough bedtime stories? Did I not tell you about Jesus enough? Like what, and sometimes it's just life. It's literally just lifing. And, and for me, nobody would have known. They would have been so caught off guard. But I think some of the signs that people could have seen was the frustration. Because I had anger issues. I was like, because imagine having all these emotions and all these things just boiling on the inside of you and you can't say anything.
Well, and the people around you expect something of you that you may not be able to give because you're so wound up inside.
Right.
And so that's where the outbursts come out of like, you don't get me. You don't understand what I have going on, but they don't, because they don't know. Right. And so the anger comes out in weird ways.
And I've learned to rechannel all of that over the years into like my passion for kids, passion for sports. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever been to a game that I coach.
No, but I've seen all the pictures. I'm excited to attend next year, John.
But and my kids, they just feed off of it. They love it. The energy, the passion. Like
most of the pictures I've seen, he's not on the ground. Like he's literally
I was going to say, I bet you're
feet are off the ground. Yes, he's floating. Yeah. John, I want to go back to something because I know what Amos is trying to get at here. And when it comes to when asking kids or asking the tough questions, when you see individuals who are high performers like you and I were in school, and then high performers in life, just in general, there is a piece where a kid is ashamed to even mention that that's even a thought because they have so much, because they are given so much and they have a good life and they have decent friends and they're really athletic and I have good grades. Like, what is wrong with me? And the shame of saying these are thoughts that I'm having, we don't want to burden people with that because it seems so selfish, right? Because we've been given so much.
I mean, it could almost come off as like, you know, it's a word, not disingenuous.
Genuous. Yeah, that's right. I struggle with words too. The whole audience knows this.
Oh, it's morning time, so my coffee hasn't really kicked in yet. But you know, but it could almost come off as like you being ungrateful or you being spoiled, so. Yep. Or, you know. And for me, I think the real root issue to it. Amos, I'm so sorry to get back to your question because I mean we've kind of been doing this,
too.
But I think really the root issue of it is fear, man.
Yeah,
it's fear.
Don't want people to view you. Talk about you.
The fear of facing life.
Okay.
The devil, I mean, because the devil for me, like, I promise you, like, I would get these almost like whispers. So you know what it's like when the Lord's telling you something. You might not hear an audible voice, but you hear that confirming. Mm-hmm. And it's like, just walk out in front of that car. It'll be over real quick.
Yeah.
Nobody will care. Just pull the trigger. Just take those pills. Just do this. You can rest.
Mm-hmm.
You don't
just shut it down.
Anymore.
You can shut it all down.
Shut it down. It'll be all over quick.
Yeah.
And when you get so fatigued, man, it starts to sound kind of enticing.
So do you think if someone had asked you, is there anything that you're scared of?
That would have been a great question.
Do you think that would open up the conversation?
Yes, that would have been a great question because I would have said, I like you, Amos.
I know.
That's really good questions.
What I hear is, I hear the person in the car listening to the podcast screaming at the podcast, ask this. I'm trying to figure out what that
He's
question is.
He's always thinking about that.
Yeah. What are the good questions to ask?
That would be one of the, like, what are you afraid of? What keeps you up at night?
Yeah.
What bothers you? You know, and for me, man, you know, it was things like, man, I remember being in the third grade, and this was back when love letters was the thing, right? Check yes, maybe, or I'll think about it.
Yeah,
but you never put no on there.
No, because that was definite. No, so you're saying there's a chance. Right?
Yeah. And I just remember like giving this note to this girl. She's this beautiful girl. She was beautiful, blonde hair, and she comes back and she says, well, I can't date you. And I'm like, why? And she says, because you're a nigger.
Oh man, yeah.
And in the third grade.
Yeah.
Oof.
That plants a seed.
Yeah.
Just breathe for a second.
Yeah.
But in the third grade, you go, well, God, why did you make me this way? Why did you give me this brown skin? Why am I being treated different because of my skin color? Like, why, you know, and there's been so many times, man, where I tell that story to people, and I have some people that are just like, that doesn't happen in the United States, does it?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, because it's just so foreign. It's just such another world.
Like we're past that, right?
Like we're past that, right? And, you know, and I think that, you know, things in some cases have gotten better, but I also think that things in some cases have just been masked. They're being hidden.
Yeah, and they haven't been uncorked.
They're not as blatant, you know?
And there's something to be said about how angry things have gotten too, right? So the uncorked piece is where people are coming out and they're saying things they probably never should say. But Jon, I'm so excited about what is to come. Like just your whole journey, everything you've walked, everything you've gone through, the beautiful repair God has done in you. Like I feel like he has shed so much from you and yet has put so much more seed. And just watching it all come to fruition and watching it grow it's beautiful for Marcy, because Marcy's been a huge piece in all of this by setting you straight when you were younger and saying, hey, I ain't dating you till you get your crap together.
Right.
And you never gave up. She never gave up. You guys are such a beautiful testament to marriage, parenting, just the tenacity you guys have as a couple is so beautiful. It's fun to watch. It's really fun to watch and it's inspiring. And so from Amos and I to you all, like just keep on keeping on, man, because it's really a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah. It's been fun to watch. It's fun to watch, fun to see the journey. I'm excited for you. What's the website?
So our website is Setzer Elite. That's SETZERELITE.com. And, we do speed and agility training. We train athletes from all different backgrounds.
In all ages.
Well, K through 12. And now, we've really just started to evolve because now there's a lot of college athletes that are reaching out that want to train. They're like, my little brother or my little sister told me that they're training with you. And they come and talk about you all the time. So I figured I would call and I'm like, sure, get in, let's go, let's train. And so it's been really, really good just seeing God open up this vision to something bigger than I never dreamed of.
It just continues to evolve and it will. I also want to just do a shout out because you're one of our speakers for the upcoming Mom and Son event.
Let's go.
On June 12th, man, I don't think we've even said that on the podcast yet, that's a new piece of our ministry. Fortitude Podcast has turned into Fortitude Ministries, and we have a lot coming. And so you were a part of the vision from the beginning, which is really cool how God has unfolded like this whole entire thing of you and I sitting together before any of this even came about. And I was like, Jon, I just see it and you're a part of it. And I don't know what it is really yet, but I know. And now it's like, it's happening. And so June 12th, you get to stand in front of hundreds of moms and boys and you get to share this and you get to speak into their life. And I can't wait. I just can't wait to see you light up that room at Ransom Church downtown Sioux Falls. It's going to be fun.
Well, it's an honor. It's an honor and privilege for me really just to be in great community with people like you, having guys like you in our corner, because it truly does take a village, and I've always said this, that ministry flows out of relationship.
There's no doubt.
It's not about the building. It's not about the money. It's like ministry flows when relationships are the most important thing.
Yep.
And if we can keep that, the sky truly is the limit.
It is. I think we're doing good. I think we're doing good there. I think that's between all of us,
just
man,
fine, honey.
The relationship piece, we know people on purpose and get curious. That's what I always say. Just know people on purpose.
I like it.
Because there's a lot of substance to every single person. Yeah. Well, Jon, give our love to that beautiful family of yours.
I will.
Thank you for sharing all of this with the audience. And we'll share your information so people want to reach out and learn more.
Sure.
We'll pass on the love. So thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Jon. Thank you so much for listening. We want to change lives through this podcast. And if you want to support this podcast or our guests, please see the links below for our Patreon and giving links.
And like and subscribe and also share our podcast as much as possible. Thank you.